The stars went dark for a moment, and humanity held its breath. Across the void, a fleet of alien warships hovered like predators circling prey, sleek, silent, and impossibly vast. Their emissary had come with one message: surrender or be erased. But on the edge of the Sol system, Commander Elena Voss tightened her grip on the controls of the battered human frigate, the last line of defense between the invaders and the colonies they had sworn to protect. Every sensor blip, every distant explosion whispered a single terrifying truth. The odds were impossibly against them. Yet something deeper stirred within her, a stubborn spark that no alien technology, no fleet of death dealers could extinguish. As the alien flagship opened its jaws of light, ready to devour everything, Elena's eyes narrowed. Humanity had faced annihilation before, and survived. Could a single species, battered and outnumbered, ignite a war that would make the galaxy remember them forever? Commander Elena Voss hadn't always been a soldier. Once, long before the stars filled her days with war and silence, she'd been a girl standing on the steel walkways of Mars City, staring at the horizon where the red dust met the shimmering dome of glass. Her father had been an engineer, her mother a medic. Ordinary people, ordinary lives. And yet, even then, she had felt the weight of history pressing against her shoulders, because humanity had never been ordinary. She still remembered her father's voice as he fixed her toy shuttle, grease on his hands, eyes tired but warm. One day, the galaxy will test us, Elena. Remember, machines break, walls fall, but people endure. Years later, those words rang in her ears as she walked the narrow corridor of the UES Resolute, her boots echoing in rhythm with the ship's heartbeat. She was no longer a girl watching dust storms. She was humanity's shield, standing in the path of something that should not have been possible. For months, rumors had trickled in across the colonies, ships vanishing on the frontier, trade convoys silenced, outposts gutted and left adrift. At first, the Council dismissed them as pirates or navigation errors. But then came the wrecks. Elena had seen one herself, a mining hauler, torn open like a carcass, its crew missing, its hull scarred with weapons that didn't match any known registry. The silence of that derelict still haunted her, the way personal effects drifted in zero-G, the way comms recorded desperate voices that cut off mid-scream. The aliens hadn't even spoken to humanity at first. They had demonstrated. Colony after colony fell in silence until finally an emissary arrived. Not a face, not even a body, just a projection, towering, cold, and utterly certain. Submit, it had said, in perfect, toneless standard. Lay down your fleets. Cease your resistance. Surrender, and you will be permitted to exist as subjects of the Dominion. The Council had debated, stalling for time. Merchants urged caution, generals roared for defiance, politicians spoke of survival. But Elena? She had sat in silence, her jaw locked, her chest burning. Because she knew. They wouldn't let humanity live. Not truly. So here she was, aboard a ship patched together from the last scraps of the fleet, standing at the edge of Sol itself, staring into the abyss where alien warships gathered like wolves before the kill. Life aboard the Resolute was grim but human. Engineers played cards between shifts. Medics patched up scraped knuckles and joked about ration packs. Young cadets clung to their comm units, whispering messages to families on Luna or Earth, hoping signals still got through. Even in the shadow of annihilation, they laughed, they argued, they lived, and Elena loved them for it. She walked the mess hall one evening, nodding to her crew as they huddled over steaming bowls of protein paste. They looked up at her not with fear, but with trust. To them, she was more than a commander. She was proof that someone still stood unbroken, proof that humanity could fight. Outside, the alien fleet loomed closer. Scanners measured their weapons, their impossible engines, their sheer weight of numbers. 10 to 1. 100 to 1. No human admiral would call it a fair fight. But humanity had never asked for fair. In her quarters, Elena unfolded a small hollow frame of her parents, both long gone. She placed it on her desk, the faint glow casting soft light on the walls. She thought of Mars, of dust storms, of her father's words. Machines break, walls fall, but people endure. The galaxy didn't know it yet. The Dominion didn't understand it yet. But they were about to. Because tomorrow, when the aliens opened their mouths to demand surrender, Elena Voss would give them humanity's answer. The first shot was not fired by humanity. It came from the alien flagship, an unearthly beam of white fire that split the darkness of space, scarring across Saturn's rings as though the cosmos itself had flinched. Every console aboard the Resolute lit red. Warnings screamed. Crew members froze, the sound of their own breathing louder than the klaxon's wail. The Dominion had opened the war. "Brace for impact!" Elena barked, her voice cutting through the panic. The beam swept toward them, too vast to dodge, too fast to outmaneuver. For a single heart-wrenching moment, she thought this was how it would end. Humanity's last defenders, burned to ash without firing a single shot. But the beam didn't strike. Instead, it tore into a relay satellite behind them, vaporizing it in a flash of molten debris. A warning shot. A reminder. The alien message arrived seconds later, cold and merciless. "This is mercy. Next will be extinction." Elena's crew looked to her. Young faces, scarred veterans, hands gripping railings, all waiting, all trembling. And then she did the only thing a human commander could do. She smiled, just faintly, as though daring the abyss to strike. "Helm," she said, voice steady. "Bring us about." "Weapons! Lock target! Let's remind them what mercy looks like on our terms." The ship groaned as thrusters roared, pushing the battered frigate into formation with the remnants of the fleet. Only 6 ships remained, scattered survivors of dozens. Their hulls bore scorch marks, their weapons half-repaired, their crews exhausted. Against the Dominion's armada, they looked like insects daring a storm. But insects could sting. The battle began in silence. Then, chaos. Alien cruisers surged forward, their formation precise, elegant, almost beautiful in its symmetry. Beams of green plasma cut through the void, slicing across the human line. Shields buckled. A corvette exploded in a spray of white fire, debris scattering like broken glass. Elena didn't flinch. "Pattern Delta 7, she ordered. The fleet shifted, not with alien perfection, but with human unpredictability. Ships wove between one another, breaking formation, scattering like prey. To the Dominion, it must have looked like disarray, disorder, weakness. But within the chaos, hidden in the apparent panic, was strategy. "Launch decoys," Elena whispered. From the belly of the Resolute, a dozen pods shot outward, glowing faintly. To Dominion sensors, they looked like warheads primed to detonate. Half the alien cruisers swerved instantly, beams slicing through the decoys in perfect precision. Too perfect. Because while they wasted fire on phantoms, the Resolute and her sister ship, the Horizon, slipped past their flanks. Human torpedoes ignited, streaking toward the exposed underbellies of Dominion ships. One detonation. Then another. 2 alien cruisers bloomed into fire. The bridge of the Resolute erupted in cheers, but Elena's expression stayed grim. "That's 2. They've got 50 more. Keep moving." The Dominion adapted quickly. Within minutes, their formations shifted, cutting off human escape routes. Plasma storms poured across the void, hammering human shields. The horizon took a direct hit, her midsection splitting in two. Bodies, oxygen, flame, spilled into the void before emergency bulkheads sealed. Elena's chest burned, but she couldn't stop. "Cover the survivors!" "Pull them in!" The Resolute turned sharply, engines straining as grappling beams pulled in escape pods. All around them, Dominion fire intensified. The aliens had seen the trick. Now they came to crush. Elena closed her eyes for a breath, thought of her father's words, then opened them again with fire. "Target their command relays," she ordered. Her tactical officer blinked. "Commander, those relays are hidden, encrypted." "They're not perfect," Elena cut in. "Nothing's perfect. Look for the signals. They'll be faint, out of sync, anything irregular." Minutes passed like lifetimes as the crew scoured data feeds, sweat dripping, fingers flying. Then, there! Narrow band frequency, starboard flank. "Fire everything!" Elena snapped. The Resolute's cannons lit space with fire, slamming into what appeared to be empty vacuum. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, a Dominion battleship shuddered. Its formation faltered. Half its weapons went dead. The bridge roared. Elena only allowed herself the smallest nod. "Remember this, people. Machines break. Walls fall." Her eyes narrowed at the Dominion fleet. And now, so will they. But the Dominion wasn't finished. A shadow fell across the stars. The flagship. Larger than any city humanity had ever built, a fortress of steel and light. Its cannons alone could gut Earth's orbital stations with a single volley. And now, it turned directly toward the Resolute. The comms crackled. A voice filled the bridge. Deep, resonant, dripping with disdain. "You resist with courage. Futile. Surrender your vessel. This defiance ends now." Every face aboard the Resolute turned pale. The voice carried more than arrogance. It carried certainty, as if it already knew the outcome. Elena stepped forward, hands clasped behind her back, eyes locked on the monstrous ship. "This is Commander Elena Voss of the United Earth ship Resolute." Her voice was calm, steady. "And I'll give you humanity's answer." She cut the channel, then turned to her crew. "All units, prepare for burn. We're going inside." The silence that followed was suffocating. Then, one by one, officers nodded. Engineers strapped in, gunners armed torpedoes. No one questioned her. "Ma'am," the helmsman said softly. "Inside what?" Elena's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Inside their command ship. We can't outgun them. So we'll cut out the heart." The Resolute's engines screamed as it accelerated, streaking toward the flagship. Plasma fire surrounded them, tearing space into shards of light. Shields buckled, hull groaned, but the ship kept going, slipping through the storm by sheer will. Behind them, the remnants of the human fleet followed. 2 destroyers, a crippled corvette, every ship left willing to fight. The Dominion flagship loomed larger and larger, filling every screen with impossible scale. Its hangars yawned open, spewing drones and interceptors. "Brace!" Elena shouted. The Resolute dove through a swarm of alien fighters, cannons blazing, torpedoes carving holes in the sky. Drones shattered against its hull. Metal screamed. Fire tore across bulkheads. Still, they pushed on. And then, impact. The Resolute slammed into the flagship's outer hangar bay, tearing through armor plating. Metal shrieked. Sparks rained. Bulkheads collapsed. When the smoke cleared, the human frigate lay lodged deep inside the Dominion vessel, broken but alive. The crew staggered to their feet, systems offline, hull breached, weapons gone. They had made it inside. And Elena, standing amidst the wreckage, raised her voice one last time. "Humans," she said, her words echoing through smoke and ruin. "We fight from here." The Resolute was no longer a ship. It was wreckage fused into the bones of the Dominion flagship, cracked steel, burning conduits, air bleeding into the void. Yet within the shattered hull, humanity still stood, bruised, bloodied, unbroken. Smoke choked the hangar bay where they had come to rest. Alien drones poured from shattered racks, spider-limbed constructs that clicked and hissed as they skittered forward. Red optics flared in the darkness. Elena Voss drew her sidearm and stepped onto the fractured deck. Her crew followed. Marines with rifles clutched, engineers holding improvised weapons, even medics gripping scavenged blades. None of them hesitated. "Form the line," Elena ordered. Her voice was hoarse but steady. The drones attacked in a wave. Plasma bolts seared through the smoke, sizzling against steel. Humans answered with fire and fury. Rifles barked, grenades roared. Sparks burst in the haze as drone carcasses shattered to pieces. They were outnumbered 100 to 1. Every second bled hope, but every second they fought. And then the bay doors shuddered open, revealing something worse. A Dominion enforcer stepped through. Towering, armored in black carapace, its forearms carried weapons designed to end cities. Its gaze fixed on Elena as though she were already marked for death. The crew faltered. Some stepped back. Even veterans froze. Elena didn't. She raised her weapon, fired once, twice, useless against the monster's armor. Then she lowered it and called over the comms, her voice steady as steel. "Charge." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the humans surged. They threw themselves against the enforcer with everything they had, rifles blazing, blades flashing, torches searing armor. The aliens staggered beneath the storm. Men and women fell, burned or broken, but the line did not collapse. Elena herself vaulted across twisted beams, slammed her sidearm against the enforcer's helm, and pulled the trigger point blank. The shot cracked its visor, just enough for one of her Marines to jam a grenade into the breach. The explosion lit the hangar in white fire. When the smoke cleared, the enforcer lay in ruin. The humans were bloodied, scarred, but alive. And ahead, the command corridor. They pushed deeper into the flagship, step by step. Every hall was a gauntlet, alien soldiers with blades of light, automated defenses that spat plasma into the narrow corridors, traps designed to shred invaders. But humans adapted. Engineers rerouted power with scavenged tools. Medics used smoke grenades as cover. A technician rewired a Dominion turret, turning it against its masters. Every obstacle was met not with surrender, but with defiance. Every obstacle was met not with surrender, but with defiance. Finally, they reached it. The command nexus. The chamber was vast, a cathedral of alien steel, with a throne-like platform at its center. Upon it stood the commander of the Dominion fleet, a being of cold majesty, taller than any human, draped in armor that shimmered like starlight. Its voice rolled through the chamber, smooth and venomous. "You break yourselves against inevitability. Why resist? You are dust before the storm." Elena stepped forward, blood streaking her face, uniform scorched. She holstered her empty weapon and spoke with the weight of every soul behind her. "Because dust endures, and storms pass." The alien lifted its hand. A blade of light snapped into existence, humming with energy. The duel began. It was no contest of equals. The alien struck with inhuman speed, blows carving sparks from steel. Elena dodged, ducked, rolled, the blade's heat searing her skin. She was only human, fragile, mortal. But humanity's strength had never been in one alone. As the alien raised its weapon for the killing strike, one of Elena's crew dove in, dragging the blade off course, taking the hit. Another hurled a wrench that shattered the alien's visor. A third fired the last round of a rifle into exposed circuits. Together they swarmed the giant, dragging it down with sheer will. Elena seized the moment. She ripped a fallen plasma blade from the floor and drove it through the commander's chest. The alien convulsed, a scream echoing across the chamber. Then, silence. The Dominion commander fell. But victory came with a cost. The flagship trembled, its systems failing, power surging wild. The death of its commander had triggered a cascade, control relays collapsing, reactors overloading. Alarms blared, bulkheads split, fire swallowed the walls. "Commander!" an officer cried. "We have to evacuate!" Elena staggered, her strength fading, but she forced herself upright. She looked back at her crew, dozens left from hundreds, every face exhausted but blazing with defiance. "No," she said softly, almost to herself. "Not yet." She strode to the command throne, sparks raining down around her. With bleeding hands, she slammed into the alien console, dragging wires free, forcing systems online. The Dominion fleet outside was still hammering the human ships, still pushing toward Earth. But now their command ship was in her hands. Elena met the eyes of her crew. "Transmit this to the fleet," she said. "Every channel, every frequency." She activated the controls. The Dominion's own weapons turned outward. Plasma cannons roared, tearing through their own armada. Cruisers shattered. Fighters dissolved. The galaxy watched as one human-captured ship gutted an empire's pride. The bridge shook violently, flames consuming everything. They would not survive this ship's fall. But survival was never the point. Elena closed her eyes, whispering her father's words one final time. Machines break. Walls fall. But people endure. When she opened them again, fire lit her gaze. The Dominion would never forget what humanity had done here. And the galaxy would never again look at humans the same way.